Let's take the word fascination. When I started researching this about a decade ago, I I found this in an old journal. The word fascination, and it was the original definition in ancient Latin, and it said the word fascination means to bewitch or hold captive, so your listener is powerless to resist. I thought, okay, that's totally dark and cool. And so I went to the dictionary, Webster's dictionary, and it describes the word fascination as meaning to bewitch or spellbind as a snake might hypnotize you. So the more I began researching this, when we look throughout history, from Constantinople, Mesopotamia, the Middle Ages, they all talk about this concept of fascination almost like an evil eye. In fact, okay, this is what the cover of the book looks like, and I created it like this so that it would have that feeling of hypnosis, kind of that spellbinding quality. Sigmund Freud talks about fascination as the inexorable force of hypnotism that happens when you're falling in love. The Salem witch trials, where they talked about spellbinding as being fascination. So if we think about this and if you have a business or you're marketing a product or service, imagine if you could spellbind people so that they became irresistible. That's pretty powerful stuff. But the word fascination fell off of our lexicon in the 20th century because fascination was replaced by marketing. So when marketers came around, they said, oh, we don't need this instinctive force of attraction. We can just simply market to people. So the greatest brands, greatest businesses, they have that force of being impossible to resist.
So when you say impossible to resist, are we talking about like just creativity, originality? Because I mean, there's a lot of brands that copycat each other. The big, people go for, like a lot of the insurance companies are not going to comedy or just fun things as a way to kind of get their message across.
Yeah, they're sort of different for the sake of different.
Right? Yeah, exactly. So what I'm asking is like, where is that line of fascination coming from? Is it ultimately the originality, or is there something else we're missing here?
Well, that's an excellent question. When I'm so glad you asked. When I began studying fascination, I found that if we look at all different types of fascination, from which politician we're going to vote for to the food that we decide to eat, the movie we go to, the products we buy, there are 7 different categories. And that you can take any idea, brand, product, person, you can put them into one of these 7 categories. Like we learned earlier, your primary advantage is power. I don't think that would be a secret to anybody. My primary advantage is passion. That means in an environment in which people are going to buy something according to relationship, I have a competitive advantage over you. When they are going to buy confidence and authority, you have an advantage over me. So if you and I were products, it would be in my best interest to not go head to head with you on the basis of confidence, because you're going to have the upper hand in that, and that I would become exhausted, or I have to spend more in my marketing budget in order to leverage myself against you. But there are 5 other different categories. There's mystique, which is another one of your advantages. Innovation, which is another one of my advantages. Prestige, language of excellence. Trust, the language of stability. Alert, the language of details. And that we've covered all 7. See, I score low on details. That's why my numbers start to jumble. But what I found was that you can measure people. You can measure which of those advantages a person has. And you can measure which of those advantages a brand has to guide the marketing and the communication.
So how do you gauge? I mean, I understand the person, you do pretty much the test, and you have a good idea where you stand. How can you test your brand advantages the same way we talked about, going on your website and testing a person? How can you kind of understand where your brand stands in the core of things?
Well, that's a great question. We have a new assessment that's in beta mode. Would you like the secret address?
I would love the secret address.
Okay. Brandfascination.com. When you go to brandfascination.com, the algorithm will measure how people see your brand at its best. And by brand, I mean product, service, or business. It will show you, like a focus group, how do people see your brand at its best, and which of those 7 advantages should be using in your marketing and communication. so that you can focus in, and instead of hiring a marketing consultant or hiring an ad agency, you can already benefit from this focus group of 1 million people that we've done, so that especially as an entrepreneur, if you don't have a huge marketing budget, it can give you a leg up in the strategic process more quickly so that you have a strategic brief.
But what do you use to measure that? Are you talking about a website? Or are you talking about, how do you measure a brand, like by what product per se? Is it just by what they're selling or the way they're portraying what they're selling?
When you go to brandfascination.com, I want you to have in your mind, what is the business, product, or service that you're measuring? For example, if you are you measuring Toyota? Are you measuring Lexus? Are you measuring Camry? You have to have a very specific brand or product in mind. Then we ask you 28 questions, and the questions are based on focus group fundamentals, plus the research that we've done on how people respond to the cues that brands give out. At the end, it gives you your result. And let's say the result is power. If we were measuring a product, let's say, okay, I'm going to do the assessment for Google, and I get the result. Power would probably be very high in the scoring, and it would say, okay, because you have primary power, here are 4 things that you should do in all of your marketing. And then it will lay out for you some of that how-to, but it also give you examples of other brands that use power and specific things that you should be doing when you are either doing paid marketing or talking to your customers or writing your website or your newsletter or any other type of communication.